All right, so the balance of the Eastern Conference probably hangs in this series. The Nets and the Bucks are finally going to face off in round 2 in the Eastern Conference. What do you guys think is going to happen?
Well, here's the thing. This is going to be the make or break series for Giannis Antetokoumpo. I believe right now he's not going to be the favorite. He shouldn't win, but if Giannis actually comes out, he comes out in front and actually does beat the Brooklyn Nets, it's going to be absolutely huge. It'd be terrible for the city of Brooklyn. Don't get me wrong, but I personally believe that Giannis right now could possibly make his claim for the best player in the NBA as of right now. We know Luka Doncic is pretty much at the height of the powers right now. LeBron James is kind of coming down, mainly because he's not necessarily performing the best in the playoffs. But I personally believe if Giannis Antetokounmpo can make a run to the finals, he could definitely take hold of it and be that guy. But in regards to how I think this series should go, I have Brooklyn in 6. This is their year. Like, they are going to be the favorites in every series that they play, mainly because they have the three guys. They have Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. No one in the league should be able to beat them. Because of that, I'm gonna have to say Brooklyn in 6. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The Bucks showed me something when they played against my Miami Heat. Now, of course, they swept us, so of course it wasn't necessarily that difficult for the Bucks. But what they showed me in that series is that they now have the dog in them. Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't necessarily overperform or anything like that. The one thing that they showed me is that they can win, and they can win despite Giannis having a bad game efficiency wise. In the regular season, Giannis Antetokounmpo shoots like 60% from the field. In the series versus us, he shot about 46% from the field. Terrible efficiency for his standards, but they were still able to consistently win with Giannis not having the best games. Drew Holiday played a part in that. One unnamed guy I'm not necessarily going to name in this podcast had a hand in that. They have scorers on their team, and I personally believe that they're going to definitely need that. And one of the things that's going to be absolutely huge for them is the fact that the Brooklyn Nets, they don't necessarily have a very good defensive interior presence. Giannis Antetokounmpo should feast. It should look like food down there. But obviously, I still have the Brooklyn Nets in 6. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys. If the Bucks pull us out, Giannis Antetokounmpo could definitely start his case for the best player in the league.
Yeah, I agree with you as far as picking Brooklyn, but I actually have the series going 7 games only because you know the Brooklyn Nets they're a solid team. Well, they're more than solid. This is a historically great offensive team, but this is the best team that Giannis has had his entire career in Milwaukee. I mean, it really comes up to how good will Chris Middleton be? Because the guy you probably weren't you were talking about that you weren't mentioning is Bryn Forbes, and yes, Bryn Forbes he outplayed Jimmy Butler. If a guy like Bryn Forbes can outplay a franchise guy like Jimmy Butler, and he can carry that on into this next series, the Brooklyn Nets are going to have their hands full, and it's going to be a pretty tight series. I do agree that if the Brooklyn Nets can somehow lose this series to Giannis, we got to start having this conversation about Giannis being the best player in the league. It's hard to even imagine somebody beating a team that has Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. But I think we also have to look at the last series that they played against Boston. Not for nothing, Boston was very short-handed, and Jason Tatum was still giving them a run for their money by himself. They even were able to steal one game from them. So I think with a fully healthy Milwaukee team, the Nets are gonna have to get it clicking like from game one. Otherwise, they could be in trouble.
Now, I think it's a clean sweep. We all agree that the Brooklyn Nets should win this series, but we wouldn't really be surprised if the Bucks win. And I feel like that's something. It's something new because for the past couple years, we kind of knew what the Bucks were in the playoffs, and I feel like this year is different. Rob, I too was watching that series against Miami, and I saw something different in the Bucks. And I what I saw was that even when Giannis isn't the one scoring, they can still find a way to win the game. He doesn't have to be the go-to guy for them to win a game. And I think that them being more of an all-around scoring team is going to be a problem for Brooklyn because maybe if it was just Giannis and you just had the game plan for Giannis, they would sweep him. But I don't think Steve Nash or whatever the coaching staff they have in Brooklyn right now is really ready to deal with a complete team like the Milwaukee Bucks are. But they are going to be helped out a lot by the offensive firepower. What is Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant? I don't think the Bucks will be able to keep up with them. Although I don't feel like the Nets will be able to slow them down, I don't think the Bucks will be able to score more points than the Nets 4 times.
One of the things that Giannis has to stay out of, he has to stay out of foul trouble. A low key thing coming into this series is going to be the fact that Blake Griffin actually led the league in charges, And Giannis Antetokoumpo, he's like a charging magnet. Like he puts his head down, he drives with reckless abandon. Of course, if he gets in foul trouble, it's definitely going to be a bad thing for the Milwaukee Bucks. We talked about how they could actually score without actually completely relying on Giannis Antetokoumpo, but we have to understand he's an elite defensive talent. We talked about it. You talked about it. The unnamed person pretty much outplayed Jimmy Butler. That's pretty much because Giannis Antetokoumpo was on Jimmy Butler throughout the whole series. I personally believe that he himself could possibly slow down Kevin Durant. I'm not saying that he's going to stop Kevin Durant. I'm not saying that he's going to shut him down. He could possibly slow down Kevin Durant. Giannis Antetokoumpo is also 6'11". Is also very agile, and I think personally he could possibly slow him down just a tad bit. Now, obviously, you still have to worry about the two other scorers, James Harden and Kyrie Irving. I think Drew Holiday will possibly do a very good job on Kyrie Irving. James Harden is going to be James Harden. The thing about James Harden is going to be the fact of if James Harden can actually rise to the occasion. We understand and we see his shortcomings in previous playoff series. I personally think that it wouldn't necessarily matter in this particular situation, man, because his support and cast is just too damn good.
And I feel like for the Nets, 3 keys to making sure you win the series against the Bucks, and it's not the 3 people you're thinking about. I would say they would need they would just need solid defensive performances from Nicholas Claxton, the young guy, DeAndre Jordan, and Jeff Green needs to be healthy. I know he didn't play last game against the Celtics, but I feel like when Jeff Green is healthy, they go from being a terrible, worst in the league defensive team to at least being in the top 20. Like, I feel like if those 3 are clicking and they secure the paint and they stay out of foul trouble, they don't give away free points, then the Nets definitely, I feel like they should at least get a gentleman sweep at most 6 games. But if Jeff Green isn't healthy and the other 2 aren't playing well, I don't see this. I wouldn't be surprised this going 7 games and it going down to the wire, waiting for Kevin Durant heroics at the end.